Welcome back to MMA Surge. I'm your host, Andrew the Squid Montañez. We just got done watching UFC 154, a match between the current champion, George St-Pierre, and the interim champion, Carlos Condit. This is a fight that was supposed to happen years ago. Carlos Condit was the WEC welterweight champion, GSP was the UFC welterweight champion, but a loss knocked Carlos Condit down. He had to win 5 fights in a row to get back to this point. This 5-round matchup did not disappoint. GSP came out, he did what he does, uses his jab, he works his takedowns, he stays within the guard, he's very, very active. GSP is a very strong, very fit and athletic opponent. He exploits those things, you know, he'll take you down, he'll stay within your guard, he'll smother you, he'll use his strength. So it's a very tough fight for Carlos Condit. GSP was able to get a ton of successful takedowns on Carlos Condit. In the first round, he got in Carlos Condit's guard and landed a huge elbow that completely cut Carlos open. And this was kind of like a game changer in the fight. Carlos was a bloody fighter the whole time and kind of had to change his pace. He used that blood, he was able to get mad, get after GSP, throw some really good strikes. In the third round, he landed a huge head kick combination that dropped GSP and pretty much almost ended the fight, but GSP was able to come back, get himself back to the feet, and just work what he does. Takedowns, pressure, and a lot of jabs. One of the things George does really well is he does a lot of these moves. They seem kind of boring, but they're actually really high-level martial arts stuff. They're very calculated and very timed out right. So something George does really well is he'll be in front of you moving, and he gets you to kind of freeze. Once he gets you to freeze, he throws this really nice and fast Superman punch. He does this for all different reasons. He'll throw this Superman punch, and he'll come right with a leg kick immediately after. It's really smart because a lot of people, when they fight GSP, they're thinking, this guy's gonna take me down all day. I really can't commit to any strikes. George will be in front of you, and it's immediately Superman punch kick. So again, he gets in front of you, he Superman punches and kicks, and he's back to moving. And you know, if it's GSP, it's gonna be something like, you know, right to a takedown type of stuff. One of the biggest turning points in the fight, and probably the most exciting part of the fight, was when Carlos Condit in the third round threw this wheel kick. So a wheel kick is almost like a capoeira or, you know, karate move. You know, it's when you go like that. It's a little risky move. It has very high potential of a knockout. But he did that and he immediately went hook, cross, dropped his head down here, and then boom, threw a head kick. So it was really smart that, you know, a lot of guys, when they throw hook, cross, you just kind of stay there. But Carlos Condit went hook, cross, dropped his head here, and then came straight up with a head kick and dropped GSP, sent him back. And, you know, GSP dropped, he came on top of him, and he did the right thing. He tried to fight. You know, it was pretty cool to see GSP injured and actually have to come back and work his way back to a guard. You know, he was here, and GSP was just constantly working. You know, GSP realized he's hurt, and you know, it kind of shows. Like, we saw GSP rocked by Matt Serra, and he quit immediately. He was tapping before the referee even stopped the fight. Here, very similar, gets cracked with a shot to the face, keeps fighting, you know, works his way back. You know, it shows that maybe during this time, like, GSP got a little more mentally strong rather than physically strong. A big part of George St-Pierre's game is his takedowns and getting on top. In this fight, Carlos Condit used a very similar game plan that he used against Nick Diaz. He was backing up, trying to strike. The big difference when you're fighting Nick Diaz and fighting GSP, Nick Diaz doesn't go for any takedowns, so you don't have to really worry about backing up. The guy's not gonna be on your legs. A guy like GSP, when he's pressuring you, even if you're backing up, he's gonna be taking you down. If someone's trying to hit takedowns on you, you have to be moving a little more. You can't stand there and let it happen. So in the first round, GSP had Condit backing up. He threw a jab, got into the single leg, ran the pipe, and got himself right in the guard. For most fighters, when a guy's in your guard on top, it may not be the most dangerous thing, but when it's GSP, it's very dangerous when he's on top of you. He gets in, he widens his knees. Anytime the hips move back or anything, GSP resets and puts his knees forwards. Very similar to Vitor Belfort against John Jones. They're from the same training camp, so you probably see the same moves. He goes to this. He goes to this can open position. You heard Joe Rogan talk about this whole fight, you know. If you have a guy with a really good guard, legs that won't open, you know, if the legs are locked, you can open him. And most guys will try to maybe go for an arm bar or something, you know, and that was happening a lot. And what GSP did really well is when a guy goes for an arm bar on you, he just squares back up and the arm bar is gone. So he negated that a few times, and when he was ready with about 15 seconds left in the first round, boom, elbow over the top, immediately bleeding, and the fight changed from there. Just one really nicely placed elbow right here. He releases his left hand, boom, just drops over the top and back to work. You know, GSP always stays nice and square, always controlling the arms. You know, GSP always has his hands here, here, or here. He's always really pressuring the guy. So that's the thing GSP does really well. He puts heavy pressure. You know, he's always working from in here. You know, if you do open your guard, he's passing the guard, and he's doing the same thing from here. When I analyze fights, especially a big fight like this, like GSP against Carlos Condit, there's certain moves I expect. Like GSP, I expect jabs and takedowns. You know, Carlos Condit, I expect leg kicks, I expect flying knees. I wanted to see these things. I wanted to see what would work, what Carlos Condit does right against GSP. So in the second round, Carlos Condit went for his flying knee, and immediately George St-Pierre just cracked him in the face with a 1-2, and immediately was like, all right, we're probably not going to see Carlos Condit do a flying knee anymore. GSP is a big guy that he watches a lot of tape, he studies a lot, so when GSP saw it, he probably, his eyes probably lit up. He's like, I have the perfect combo. You know, when he sees the pop, pop. You know, the thing that Carlos Condit did wrong was there was no setup. He didn't set this up. They were lined up, and all of a sudden he just went in like that. You know, a guy like GSP, you don't do that. If you're gonna do that, you know, maybe like jab, jab. George St-Pierre is the type of guy that shoots under your punches. So if I throw a couple punches, that's the time that you land your flying knee. When I was doing predictions on this fight, you know, I thought the way that Condit would win was if he could set the timing up, if he could land one of these knees, these flying knees when GSP goes for a takedown. But instead, every time GSP went for a takedown, go for a takedown, he did this. He did a wrestler switch. A wrestler switch is cool, but when you got a guy like GSP with his powerful wrestling, the switch isn't gonna work. You're gonna be pulling, all of a sudden you're gonna go, okay, I'm going back to guard. And you go to work here, and all of a sudden you're elbowed in the face again, you're punched, and you're losing your world title. I think, you know, if they do fight again, there's a lot of adjustments that Condit has to make, and one of them has to be is the timing. You know, you have 5 chances when you fight GSP. I think Condit should have been a little more brutal, take a little more risks. You gotta realize that you're gonna get taken down, so you might as well just take some risks before you get taken down. You know, those are the adjustments I would make. All right, UFC 154, you know, a battle for the UFC welterweight title, a unification bout between the, I don't know, all right, something. UFC 154, fight between GSP and Carlos Condit. For years, we see GSP dominating. You know, he takes a long time off. We wonder how he's going to come back. He has this stigma that he's this boring fighter. He's this, you know, lame prey guy that just throws jabs and takes you down. And then his opponent, Carlos Condit, you know, the natural born killer, this guy that knocks people out, submits them. I really wanted to see GSP get into a fight. You know, that I think most fans, that's really what we all wanted to see. I don't think a lot of people wanted to see GSP lose, but we really wanted to see him fight. But to see GSP bleed, you know, that was something cool to see, to show that he could fight back. Most of his fights are so one-sided and lopsided that you never really see, you know, a comeback from GSP. And this fight kind of had it. The UFC's finally making these good matchups in the welterweight division. Who's next? I don't know. You got guys like Nick Diaz, Johny Hendricks, guys that can fight for the title. This is a fight that may have prepared GSP for further fights down the road. You know, if he's gonna fight Nick Diaz, he's gonna get punched in the face. He's gonna have to deal with a better guard, you know. Carlos Condit has a great guard. Nick Diaz has an even better guard. And you got guys like Johny Hendricks that's better wrestling than GSP and more power than GSP. So, you know, a lot of great matchups coming up in the future. All right, hope you guys enjoyed our recap of UFC 154. Be sure to subscribe to our channel, follow us on Twitter. I want to give special thanks to Bleacher Report. They feature us on their page this week, so thank you guys. That means a lot to us over here. And just watch all of our episodes. There's a lot more martial arts to come your way. I'm the Squid. See you later.